It had been a week since Bastian and I returned from our whirlwind trip to Italy, and I was still reeling from the revelations Dr. Hathaway had shared with us. The Voynich Manuscript, a centuries-old enigma, was apparently the key to unlocking the secrets of a lost matriarchal civilization. And now, with an annotated copy of the manuscript in our possession, I felt like we were tantalizingly close to cracking the code. But as I sat in my cramped New York apartment, poring over the strange illustrations and cryptic text, I felt something was off. Bastian had been uncharacteristically quiet since our return, and I had a sneaking suspicion that he was up to something. My fears were confirmed when I received a notification from YouTube. Bastian had just uploaded a new video titled The Voynich Manuscript, Hoax or History. I clicked on the link with a growing sense of dread. There he was in all his charming, infuriating glory, talking directly to the camera.
"Hey, hamsters!"
he began, using the nickname for his devoted followers.
"As you know, I've been investigating the Voynich Manuscript, and I've got some juicy updates for you."
I felt my blood pressure rising as he launched into a recap of our trip to Italy, casually mentioning his meeting with Dr. Hathaway as if it were just another day in the life of Bastian Ham, YouTube sensation. But it was what he said next that really made my blood boil.
Now, I know a lot of you are convinced that the Voynich Manuscript holds the key to some ancient feminist utopia,
he said, a smirk playing at the corners of his mouth.
But I've been doing some digging, and I'm starting to think that this whole thing might be a hoax.
I stared at the screen in disbelief as Bastian laid out his theory. He claimed that the manuscript was likely a forgery, cooked up by Wilfred Voynich and his wife Ethel as a way to make a quick buck and push their politics. He even had the nerve to ask his viewers to help him debunk the carbon dating and other evidence that pointed to the manuscript's authenticity. By the time the video ended, I was seeing red. How dare he? After everything we'd been through, after the incredible things we'd learned, he was just going to dismiss it all as a hoax. And worse, he was using his platform to spread misinformation and doubt, all for the sake of a few cheap clicks. I grabbed my bag and stormed out of my apartment, determined to give Bastian a piece of my mind. I arrived at his door and pounded on it furiously, my anger rising with every passing second. When he finally opened up, he looked surprised to see me.
"Amalia,"
he said, a grin spreading across his face. "Did you see my latest video? Did you see the animations of the bathing ladies in the manuscript? Pretty cool editing, right?" I pushed past him into his apartment, barely noticing Scully, his cat rubbing against my legs. "Cool editing?" I sputtered, my voice shaking with rage. "Bastian, what the hell were you thinking? You can't just go around claiming that the Voynich manuscript is a hoax, not after everything we've learned." He had the nerve to look confused.
"What's the big deal?"
he asked, shrugging his shoulders.
"It's just a harmless theory to get the bad guys off our tails. And besides, my viewers eat this stuff up. You should see the comments section."
I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "The big deal," I said, my voice rising with every word, "is that you're undermining the very thing we're trying to uncover. The truth about this lost civilization, about the power and wisdom of women." He shrugged.
"To keep us safe."
I waved away his excuses with a hair flick. "You're doing it all for the sake of your stupid YouTube channel." Bastian's eyes narrowed, and I could see the defensiveness rising in him.
"Hey, I was investigating this thing long before you came along. And in case you've forgotten, this YouTube channel is how I make my living. I can't just drop everything to chase after your feminist fantasy."
I felt like I'd been slapped. "Feminist fantasy?" I repeated, my voice low and dangerous. "Is that what you think this is?" He threw his hands up in exasperation.
"Let's be real. A lost civilization of women who had all the answers? It sounds a little far-fetched, don't you think?"
I stared at him, my heart sinking as I realized the truth. He couldn't bring himself to accept even the slightest possibility of a world where women held the power. I turned to leave, my eyes stinging with tears of frustration. But as I reached for the door, Bastian called out to me.
"Amalia, wait. It's not about men or women. It's about the idea of any ancient civilization having all the answers. I mean, think about it. If they were so enlightened, why did they disappear? Why aren't they still around today?"
I paused, my hand on the doorknob, but I didn't turn around. You're going to hamsplain ancient civilizations to me now? Please enlighten me with your wisdom, oh great one. I scoffed, my voice dripping with sarcasm. Bastian's eyes narrowed, and I could see the frustration simmering beneath the surface.
Don't twist my words, Amalia. All I'm saying is that we need to keep our minds open and our bullshit detectors on high alert. Or have you forgotten what happened the last time we got swept up in a wild theory?
I flinched at the memory, the sting of his betrayal still fresh. Oh, I remember, I said, my tone icy. I remember you stabbing me in the back for a few thousand YouTube views. Forgive me if I'm not eager to take advice from the king of clickbait. Bastian's eyes flashed with anger, his jaw clenching.
Oh, spare me the dramatics, Amalia. I had no idea you were working on that pharmaceutical story. Maybe if you'd actually talked to me instead of keeping secrets, we could have avoided this whole mess.
I laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. Right, like I didn't have the documents and photos spread all over my apartment. For a long moment, we just stared at each other, the air crackling with tension. I could see the anger in his eyes, the stubborn set of his jaw. But there was something else there too, a flicker of uncertainty, of doubt. There was a long silence, broken only by Scully's contented purring. Finally, he spoke again.
Let me make it up to you.
I turned to face him, my eyebrows raised skeptically. How? He grinned, that familiar sparkle returning to his eyes.
By helping you crack this code, once and for all. And I think I know where we need to start.
He pulled out his phone and showed me a comment on his latest video.
One of my viewers mentioned that the Friedmans tried to decipher the Voynich Manuscript back in the day. And get this, their archives are kept at the Marshall Foundation Research Library, just a few hours' drive from here.
I felt a flicker of excitement despite myself. The Friedmans' archives? Of course. Okay, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Let's go to the library. But Bastian, I swear, if you pull another stunt like that video, I'm done. No more chasing clicks. We do this my way, or not at all. He held up his hands in surrender, his grin turning sheepish.
Partners in crime solving, just like old times.
I laughed, even as I shook my head in exasperation. All right, Ham, let's hit the road. Bastian's face broke into a grin, and just like that, the tension between us evaporated.
You know it, Rosie, but fair warning, Scully calls shotgun.
I groaned. He knew all too well I was allergic to Scully. Fine, but if I start sneezing, we're pulling over and you're walking the rest of the way. We gathered our things and headed out to Bastian's car. I could feel my eyes starting to water as I popped an antihistamine, resigning myself to a long journey filled with sneezes and teasing banter. As we merged onto the highway, I tried to call the Marshall Foundation to let them know we were coming. But to my surprise, the librarian who answered informed me that our request to view the Friedman archives had been denied by the FBI, no less. It's weird, because the Friedmans' official documents were declassified a few years ago. I relayed the news to Bastian, who just shrugged.
Guess we'll have to go rogue.
He said, a mischievous glint in his eyes.
Wouldn't be the first time.
I leaned back in my seat, my mind racing with possibilities. Why would the FBI block us from accessing declassified information? What secrets did the Friedmans' archives hold? But before I could ponder it further, I noticed a car in the rearview mirror, following behind us at a steady pace. I squinted, trying to make out the driver, and felt a jolt of recognition. It was the two women from the New York Public Library, Regina and Agnes. The ones who had first told me about Dr. Hathaway's discovery, and they were definitely tailing us. I nudged Bastian, pointing out the window. Don't look now, I muttered, but I think we've got company. He glanced in the mirror, his eyebrows shooting up.
Well,
he said, a slow smile spreading across his face.
Looks like this road trip just got a lot more interesting.
And as we sped down the highway, the city giving way to rolling green hills, I was certain we were hurtling towards something big, a truth that had been buried for far too long. It was going to be one hell of a ride.